Thank you. I'm just going to make a couple of quick announcements right now because a lot of times once the program's over, everybody just jams out of here and you don't get to hear what's actually going on. So one of the things that we have in the back is the Pass Area Veterans Expo is open to all military veterans, family, and friends. It's on Saturday, January 21st from 10 to 1 p.m. at the Beaumont Civic Center. If you remember in November, we were supposed to have the Veterans of FARA come, and they were not able to be here. So this is going to really take their place, and Anita Worthen is the one that's in charge and getting this all together. So if you have any questions, there's some information on here, and Anita is in the back of the room, and you'll be able to talk to her. Our next program, and just to let you know, our programs now will be on the first Tuesday of every month from 1 to 3 here in the main ballroom. We had to change them. So I just wanted to let you know that our next presentation is going to be on February 7th from 1 to 3 in the main ballroom, and our guest speaker is going to be Captain Alyssa Vernal. She is the correctional captain for the Riverside County Sheriff Department, Larry Smith Correctional Facility in Banning. I don't know if you know that we do have a correctional facility here in Banning. So she's going to be giving some information, quite a lot of information that you probably don't know. So with that, I would like to introduce Officer Montez.
All right, welcome everybody. Officer Montez with the California Highway Patrol. I am the Public Information Officer over here on Highland Springs, and I've been doing that just actually right at a year. I just started last year in January. So this is gonna be a presentation. TREADS produces this. It's Training, Research, and Education for Driving Safety over at UCSD School of Medicine. They prepared this whole presentation, and it's funded by the Office of Traffic Safety. Program's gonna be about an hour, and then we'll have questions at the end if anybody has any. All right, the goal for today's program is to keep you driving for as long and safely as you can do so. The best way to help you accomplish this goal is to reinforce good driving habits and update your knowledge about traffic safety. So here are some of the topics we're going to discuss today: aging and driving, crash factors, safe driving strategies, DMV licensing information, and self-assessment and resources. All right, let's start out by talking about aging and driving. Here are some facts about drivers in California. People over 65 are the fastest growing segment of the population overall. California currently has 4.8 million people over the age of 65. DMV shows that 3.6 million of them have licenses, and that means that 75% of that population has licenses, and more than 765,000 are 80 years or older. It's interesting to note that in 2030, 1 in 5 drivers are going to be over the age of 65. Though DMV no longer keeps statistics on the oldest driver, or any that are over 100, in 2015, the oldest driver was Edith Kirchmeier, age 107 out of Santa Barbara, and she was the oldest driver. This is her after she had just passed her driving test, and she had absolutely no restrictions. She never had a crash, never had any tickets, and never had anything other than having to wear eyeglasses. That was the only restriction that she had. She had no other medical conditions at all. When we talk about older road users, those age 65 and over, what are some of the advantages that older drivers have over younger drivers? Anybody have any? Patience, experience. You can renew online, absolutely. Anything else? Well, yeah, experience, exactly. So this is some of the things. Generally, Michelle, generally you take fewer risks. Usually more patient, possess greater life experience like we spoke of, and more compliant with the laws. These are generalizations. However, there are health issues that can affect older road users that can impact driving. These issues include cognition, such as dementia or memory loss, vision, like glaucoma or cataracts, strength and mobility issues, increase in medication that can impair your driving, and medical conditions like Parkinson's or cancer, heart disease, any kind of other breathing issues that might affect you while you were driving. So as people get older and develop medical conditions, the possible daily medication list can increase. 2/3 of drivers age 65 and older take 5 or more daily medications that can affect their ability to drive safely. These include both prescription drugs and non-prescription drugs. No driving discussion is complete without mentioning the fact that alcohol can impair your ability to drive safely. In 2019, 1/3 of all fatal traffic collisions involved an alcohol-impaired driver. This was more than 10,000 fatalities, over 28,000 for this year. Older adults were involved in 15% of those alcohol-related fatalities. Older adults process alcohol slower, and it may result in like a delayed effect from you actually feeling the impairments of the alcohol, because your liver stuff's not working as good as it used to, so it takes a little bit longer. Chronic medical conditions and medications can also be strongly affected by alcohol consumption as well. Most medication includes a warning about combining it with alcohol. How about cannabis and driving? All right, Americans age 50 and over are 20 times more likely to use marijuana than they were 30 years ago. 20 times more likely. Sun Lake's is a pretty big place. Do you guys have a dispensary in here? You may. You probably do, or you got that dealer somewhere, I don't know. So it's important to note that cannabis today is very different than the cannabis that we used to have back when I was younger, or even the 70s and 80s. Now the cannabis is way more potent. It can be 6 times more potent than the cannabis that there was back then. So way more potent. Behind alcohol, cannabis is the second most occurring substance linked to impaired driving. And remember, you can get arrested for driving under the influence of marijuana or other drugs, both prescription and non-prescription. All right, your physician or medical provider is a critical partner in your driving safety. So make sure you talk to them if you have any health changes. Ask if any of your medications are going to be affecting your ability to drive, and discuss any concerns that you have about safe driving, including problems that somebody else has mentioned to you. Make them your partner. Okay, so let's discuss what causes crashes. The list here shows the top 5 crash factors in California. This is for all ages. This isn't for seniors, this is for all ages. Number 1, unsafe speed. Number 2, improper turning. 3, automobile right-of-way. Number 4, DUI, being alcohol or drugs. And number 5, unsafe lane changes. So what do you think is the number 1 thing for older drivers? I heard improper turning, lane changes. DUI, right away. So right away is right away. All right, you guys got it right. So right away is the number 1 thing. And we'll go into why that is, because turning at intersections can be specifically challenging for older drivers. 40% of fatal crashes involve drivers over age 80 occur in intersections. So this is compared to 20% for those that are under 60. Here's why. In intersection crashes, improper turning usually involves failing to see another vehicle or misjudging the time and distance. So this results in failing to yield the right-of-way. The most common error for older drivers, and older drivers are cited more frequently for this violation than younger drivers. But when you think about it, the CHP, I know, is a lot more lenient on older drivers than we are younger drivers. So even though they're cited more, there's probably a whole heck of a lot of times where that happens and they should be cited a lot more. But as a CHP officer, we think, oh man, it reminds me of my grandma or my grandpa. I don't want to cite them. They're on a fixed income or whatever. So we tend to show leniency to older drivers, good or bad. But it's probably bad that we do. I mean, you might not think so, but so there are ways you can make a positive change to improve the safety in traffic situations. Try using these safe driving strategies. We're going to go over each of these. Making safer left turns, safer freeway driving techniques, using signals, the 3-second rule, and self-regulation. All right, so the first one we're going to talk about is go right to make a left. So compared to right turns, left turns are more dangerous due to the potential for being involved in a head-on or side impact crash. To avoid making a left turn, consider trying this technique. Go right to make a left. So if you pass an intersection, make 3 rights as shown in this diagram, and it can reduce your exposure to danger. So just passing the intersection, making the right turns, it's a lot safer way to do that. And companies like UPS and FedEx and stuff, they implement this for their drivers. So it clearly works. All right, how about safer freeway driving? Freeway driving can be a stressful event, and here are some things to remember. When entering the freeway, through traffic has the right of way, so merging traffic must yield. Look for openings with enough room for you to enter traffic safely. Merge at the appropriate speed to avoid any of the traffic that's over there. So if the freeway speed's at 70 miles per hour, you got to be at 70 miles per hour when you're merging on, not 40 miles per hour, okay? So when you're leaving the freeway, make sure you get into the proper lane well in advance of your exit. A few months ago, we had a crash that was on I-10 eastbound just before the Beaumont Avenue off-ramp. So Lifestream bus was cruising along, minding their own business in the slow lane, the number 4 lane, and another driver was in the number 3 lane and wanted to go down to Hemet. Decided to make a right turn right in front of that bus and got T-boned and scooted down the freeway a long ways. So make sure you plan your exits in advance. Now, who thinks that signals, traffic signals, turning on your left and right turn signals are required? A lot of people are raising their hand. They're only required if it's going to affect somebody else's movement. However, just get in the habit of doing it. Okay, so even though it might just be required when somebody else is around, do it all the time. That's a better strategy. All right, when following behind another vehicle, one of the things to consider is what's called the 3-second rule. Most rear-end crashes are caused by unsafe speed and following too closely, also known as tailgating. The ability to stop your vehicle has 2 components, perception time and reaction time. So perception time is the time that you see that danger, and that's about 1.5 seconds. Then your reaction time is another 1.5 seconds to actually begin to slow your vehicle. So that's why the 3-second rule is so important. Following the 3-second rule will help you to judge appropriate distances between your vehicle and the other vehicles ahead. So here's a video that demonstrates that rule.
Timing is everything. And when you're on the highway, every second counts. We usually think of stopping in terms of space, but what really matters is time. It takes about 1.5 seconds to notice a potential risk in front of you, and another 1.5 seconds to react, hit the brakes, and slow down. So you want to give yourself at least 3 seconds between the car in front of you and your vehicle. To measure, wait for the car ahead of you to pass a set object. Tree, road sign, light pole, any clear marker will do. After it passes, start counting. 1001, 1002, 1003. If you reach that same object before you reach 3, you're too close. Of course, this 3-second baseline is right for a car in normal driving conditions. Driving in bad weather, add 1 more second. Driving an SUV, add another second. If you're driving a commercial vehicle, it's gotta be at least 6 seconds. So don't forget the 3-second rule, and don't forget to share the safety with your friends and family.
All right, now how many of you guys have RVs or travel trailers? Okay, use that 6-second rule if you can. Okay, I know it's hard here in California with so much traffic, but do your best. Let's see. Okay, good. Let's talk about self-regulation as a safety strategy. Many people self-regulate or modify driving behaviors to feel safer on the road. Now, self-regulation can be found in drivers of any age. For instance, my daughter hates driving on the freeway, probably because all the bad stories I've told her. And she won't drive on the freeway. She takes side streets. So she doesn't go far. If she does, one of the other siblings usually drives. But here's some other things that you could do. Reduce your driving exposure by making fewer trips. Plan your travel day. So, like, let's say you needed to go to Walmart and the post office and Starbucks. Try to hit them all in one shot instead of making multiple trips. Only drive during daylight hours. If lights or glare bother you, I have astigmatism. The nighttime driving, it bothers me. It makes it so that it's like harder for me to like, I can't make out license plates really well at night. I don't drive at night anymore for work. Drive during fair weather only, so that's kind of a good thing for today. Avoid wet pavement or inclement weather problems when possible, and this is just for you guys. State Route 79, if you're driving down, slow down. Please, slow down. People drive too fast on that road, and they eat it all the time. Non-freeway driving. Side streets offer calmer traffic, but then there's other stuff you have to worry about. Intersections, pedestrians, and stuff like that. So make sure you're paying attention to all that. And also non-rush hour driving. However, Highland Springs, it's always rush hour traffic on Highland Springs, it seems like. Does anybody else have any other suggestions for any kind of driving modifications? Nope? Okay. Stay to the right. That's usually pretty good. However, if you're driving like on a rainy day, you don't want to be driving to the right because that's where the puddles are going to build up. So, you got to think about that too. Driving in residential neighborhoods can mean increased chances for dangerous interactions. The old adage, a rolling ball is followed by a running child, is still true, especially in a residential neighborhood. Maybe not in this one, but usually in other residential neighborhoods. So here's some things that you need to think about. Pedestrians, you guys have a lot of pedestrians here. Skateboarders, probably not so much. Cyclists and scooters, yes. Motorcyclists. Animals, including pets on and off their leashes. Parking lots also have some of the same concerns as residential areas, but they also offer some unique features. Pedestrians, they're moving in every direction. That's one of my giant pet peeves. When you're at Walmart, please walk to the right or to the left. Don't walk right in the middle of where people are trying to drive. I don't get that. Pedestrians have a lot of things going on. They got their packages, they got their carts, all that kind of stuff, so make sure you try to avoid the pedestrians. Vehicles. A lot of vehicles driving around, and people are often distracted trying to look for parking spots, so pay attention to that. Backing up. Probably the number one way that collisions occur for us on our job is backing up. Because we have cages and stuff, and it makes it really difficult for us to back up sometimes. And they used to not put any kind of cameras in our cars, and now in the rear view cameras for the backing. But now they do, a lot easier for us. But some of those cars are really, really difficult to see when backing up. So if you're backing up, make sure that it's good, that you're not just relying only on your backup camera. Turn, look, okay? I know it gets harder to turn and look as you get older, but do your best. Tight stalls also can reduce the visibility of pedestrians. And then shopping carts, lowboy carts, those carts that have little spots for children and stuff. There's all sorts of things to be concerned with in parking lots. So have you seen these newer bike lanes? Anybody been to San Diego, down to the gas lamp or anything recently? This is how they have a lot of their lanes. So you're parking here, not by the curb, but by these little delineators. Makes it really difficult. So a couple things is, if you're opening the door, you might be opening the door right into somebody riding their bike. Or when you're trying to parallel park, it makes it difficult to parallel park because you don't have that curb to judge your distances. You're having to use these delineators, so it could be a little bit funky. And then you're opening your driver's door into traffic. So there's a lot of things to worry about. It could be really dangerous, so just make sure if you're in those spots that you really pay attention. All right, let's talk about distracted driving. So what crazy things have any of you guys seen while driving? Anybody? Brushing their teeth? I've never seen that, Marilyn. Maybe in New York. Does that happen in New York? Applying makeup? Yeah. What about, what do men do? So I used to drive trucks, and I've seen people reading the newspaper just driving down the road. I'm like, oh my gosh, are you kidding? I never caught anybody doing that working. Shaving, guys shaving. Like, you know, there's so many different things other than just a mobile device in your hand that could be distracting. Texting. So this word cloud includes some of those things: GPS, texting, eating, grooming, pets, and more. Here are some national facts to consider. Every 30 seconds, there is a crash involving a driver using a cell phone. 9 people a day are killed by distracted drivers. That's over 3,100 deaths per year. And just to kind of put that into perspective, the only way that we can actually put that on our reports as being a collision factor is if we had somebody uninvolved witness it, or they admitted to doing it. So if neither of those things happened and they were actually texting and driving, it wouldn't be listed. So these are just the ones that we know about. So think about that. That's pretty crazy. You know, if we have fatal crashes, we'll sometimes subpoena the records and stuff like that if we needed to go about our finding out if they were texting and driving or calling on their phone and driving. All right, and when we talk about distracted driving, there's a very specific definition. Distracted driving is any activity that takes your attention away from the primary task of driving. Driving is a full-time job, and it requires your full attention. So now that we know the definition, this section will focus on distracted driving caused by using cell phones and electronic devices while driving. There are 3 types of distractions. Number 1, visual. So that's anything that takes your eyes off of the road. Number 2 is manual. That's anything that takes your hands off of the wheel. And number 3 is cognitive, anything that takes your mind off the task of driving. Texting is particularly dangerous because it involves all 3 of those. So here's a video that demonstrates why texting can be so dangerous.
Tonight, disturbing new cell phone video showing that pickup truck swerving on a rural Texas highway.
Somebody needs to stop him.
Just minutes before authorities say it crashed head-on into this church bus, killing 13 people on board.
You're talking about grandmothers, grandfathers. There was a husband and wife on that same bus together.
Jody Kutchler was trailing the truck for a half-hour Wednesday, watching as it crossed into oncoming traffic, coming dangerously close to this truck. Just after that devastating crash he predicted, Kutchler says he pulled over, and the 20-year-old driver, Jack Young, admitted to him that he'd been texting behind the wheel.
I said, son, do you realize what you just did? And he said, I'm sorry, I was texting.
All right, that's pretty horrible. It's hard to watch. So this video was filmed by the passenger in the vehicle following the truck, and the vehicle demonstrates the dangers you face even if you aren't the driver while texting. Can't believe it happened so long. They filmed for a long time. That's crazy. We couldn't get anybody there. Cognitive distraction is the most critical type. You might hear people proudly refer to themselves as a multitasker, especially like my wife. But it's been scientifically proven that you can't multitask. You just quickly, your brain switches back and forth between tasks, but you're not actually focusing on one task at a time. So instead of performing multiple tasks, like I said, you're just switching back and forth. If you are driving and talking on a cell phone, your attention to driving becomes secondary to the phone conversation. How many of you have been driving along and just talking to a passenger that's in your vehicle and completely missed your exit? I know I've done it. So just that little thing of somebody next to you, just talking to them and still focusing on the road, your mind's off of it and you're missing your exit. So that's how important it is. All right, let's ask a true or false question. True or false? Taking on a hands-free device is safer than using a handheld cell phone while driving. Did I say taking? Talking. Yeah, talking. Okay, so false. It's not safer because it's the cognitive engagement that's what's going to get you. All right, so remember that hands-free is not risk-free, and whether handheld or hands-free, driving while talking on a phone has up to a 4 times greater risk of getting you involved in a crash. Along with other normal traffic issues you may encounter, some other interactions on the road can become dangerous situations. Road rage. How many of you seen this person? Yeah? I think she might live here. All right. No. I've seen some of these poles that got hit and stuff in here. Yeah. All right. So, sadly, incidents involving aggressive, irate, or irrational drivers have become almost commonplace and can have very bad outcomes. Drivers who engage in criminal threats or use their vehicle in a manner in which it could result in great bodily harm or injury can be arrested and prosecuted. Additionally, the DMV can take administrative action against you if you're convicted of any of these road rage incidents. So like a first road rage incident, I think is a 6-month suspension. Second one is a 1-year suspension. And I think after that, you're just done. So there are steps that you can take to reduce your chance of being involved in a road rage incident. Here are some behaviors that have been identified as making people angry and possibly triggering road rage. So these are known as triggers: driving too slow or too fast, distracted drivers, following too closely, lack of driving courtesy, and unsafe lane changes. So these are the perception of the person who's getting upset, clearly. So you may not even be driving too slow. Maybe you're driving 70 on a 70 mile per hour roadway and somebody just gets mad at you. Just get out of the way, let them go. So this is some ways where you can avoid road rage or any kind of aggressive drivers. Number 1, stay alert. Drive responsibly and be aware of dangerous behaviors around you. Follow your traffic laws, including not texting while driving. Don't engage with aggressive motorists. It seems like I've never had a road rage incident where it was just one person acting like a dummy. It's always 2. So one person might get mad, tell you you're number 1, and then somebody else will respond, tell them they're number 1, and next thing you know, something really bad can occur. And we don't know who has guns. People are getting shot all the time from road rage incidents. So just don't engage with them. If you just let them do their thing, avoid them. Steer clear of aggravating or dangerous driving behaviors. Drive to a safe location. If anything like this happens, go to Banning PD, go to the CHP office, go to the Walmart parking lot, just so that there's other people there that could help you if necessary. Call 911 and report any of these dangerous situations. Even though you are using the phone in an emergency situation, it is allowed to be on a phone with using your hands. All right, I think I just went over those. All right, in addition to the strategies we just discussed, here are some safe driving habits that you can practice. You probably already plan long car trips, but also plan the short car trips, the local ones as well. So if you need to, get directions, check traffic, think about alternate routes, and let your friends and family know if you're going to be planning a trip. So like alternate routes. I don't know how many times we've closed off a road and these people they come up there and they say, I don't know how to get home any other way. Know another way to get home. Okay, so whether it's Highland Springs or First Street or whatever, know an alternate route to get there. If you're planning a trip and it's something you routinely let your friends, family, let somebody know that you're going to be out doing this trip. In case something bad were to happen to you, we would know, and then we would be able to report it. All right, how familiar are you with your vehicle? Personally, I have a Tesla, okay? It's kind of like an iPhone. They send you updates all the time, and you update it, and now your stuff on your car looks different than it did the day before. So you have this screen, and it kind of controls everything. So make sure you're familiar with all of the controls and features of your particular car. If you do not know, read your manual, go online, find out how to use it. A lot of people don't even know how to turn their hazards on because they don't know where their little hazard thing is. So make sure you know where that button is. I had to search for it on my Tesla. I had no idea. So, and with my car, I'm constantly getting updates, like I said. So it changes all the time, and sometimes it's rather obnoxious when you're trying to just like change the radio and it's not in the same spot it used to be. So it can be rather crazy. There's also a thing that AAA offers. It's called CarFit. It's car-fit.org. And you can go there, and they have a way for you to familiarize yourself with your particular vehicle. So carfit.org, but just know there's a little hyphen in between there. So hand placement, okay? It's an important issue. Now, the recommendation used to be 10 and 2. That was before airbags, okay? Now that we have airbags, they recommend 9 and 3 or 8 and 4. This is what the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration recommends. Now, when an airbag deploys, it deploys at 40,000 feet per second, okay? That's fast. You don't want a 40,000 feet per second slap to the face. So, use one of these so that you're not going to take an airbag slap to the face. Not good. There's also some things that you could do to help for your hands to not cross over. Use the push-pull method, or I forgot what the other name for it is, where you're always keeping one hand on the wheel, and you're just letting it slide through. So you're just pushing and pulling. So use that method. That'll definitely help you out. Adjust your upper body distance from the steering wheel. Some people, Linda, stand up. Okay, vertically impaired. All right, so this can be difficult. So if in order to adjust your upper body distance from the steering wheel, use the forward and back to make it so that you can put your when your arms are out, that your wrists are touching the steering wheel. Okay, then you're a good distance from the steering wheel. Also make sure that your chin is at or above the top of the steering wheel, and that you're able to see over the dash and over your hood. So, yes, booster chairs. You can get some stuff that'll help you out, phone book or something, I don't know. But to boost you up a little bit, but then you might have trouble touching the pedals too, so I don't know. Luckily, I'm not vertically challenged anymore. I used to be. All right, so correct positioning in the seat, correct positioning of the seat and body can reduce the danger of visual blind spots by ensuring correct viewing height. Blind spots are when the reflected view through the mirror doesn't show the whole area around the vehicle. The limited field of vision results in a physical obstruction like your pillars and your headrests. Correctly adjusting the side view mirrors help you to view the central rearview mirror up to 50 feet behind a vehicle, and that provides improved visibility in the lanes immediately to the left or the right. So this video that I'm going to show is going to explain a lot. Pay attention, because I did it and it changed how I adjust my mirrors. So please adjust your mirrors just like they say here, and it's going to help you out tremendously.
Is there really a correct way to position your rearview mirrors? When it comes to side mirrors, the answer is definitely yes. Many drivers will position the side mirror to show an expanse of the side of the car. Why do that? Are you afraid the rear of the car is going to vanish if you don't keep an eye on it? What this does is it limits the field of view of the side mirror. If you tilt the mirror outward, you start to see what it's been missing, such as another car. To position your side mirrors, make sure your driver's seat's where you want it, and then lean a little bit to the left, look out the side mirror, and adjust it so just the very slightest amount of the car is visible on that inside edge. Then lean a little bit to the right and do the same on the right side mirror.
You see a car in your rearview mirror. As it exits the frame, you'll see it in your side mirror. And as it leaves your side mirror, you will see it right next to you. There is almost no time when a car is in your blind spot when using this method, either on your left or right side.
My mind was blown when I saw that video. Completely changed it. So our side view mirrors are to see stuff on the side. They're not to see rear view stuff. But I've always done it the other way and wanted to see the back of my car. I don't know why, but that's how I was taught and that's how I did it. All right, one thing about rear view cameras is that you can't always rely on the camera view, though it's a valuable addition to most new vehicles. Well, I think every new vehicle now. Rear view and backing cameras have limitations. If you can turn and look back ahead of time, that's always a preferable thing to do. It's important to note that most cameras can still miss vehicles and pedestrians approaching from right angles or items that are just below or just above the cameras. So make sure that you're practicing using the camera and are aware of the proximity lines and other alert features. You know, the beep, 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 you know, that kind of stuff. Remember to back slowly, even if it looks clear in your camera, especially like a Walmart parking lot or something. Back slowly. And then some people, even if you're backing, they still want to go. All right, seatbelts. Do you always wear your seatbelt? All right. Even though seatbelts have been required equipment in vehicles since 1968, using them has been required, oops, I just changed it. Using them has been required for more than 35 years, but there are still some important facts to review. Approximately 50% of fatal crash victims were not wearing seatbelts. Seatbelt sensors affect how an airbag deploys. Improperly wearing your seatbelt is like having it under your arm. I see a lot of ladies that do that. Having it under your arm or across your abdomen can result in serious injuries in a crash. Also, if you're wearing it under your arm, it's just like you're not wearing it at all according to the law. So I could still cite you for not wearing your seatbelt properly if you're not wearing it properly. It's just like not wearing it at all. So make sure that it's going in the proper position. All right, we're going to have a short video about how to wear your seatbelt.
Seatbelts are used to keep the driver properly restrained in the event of a crash. The proper way for an adult to wear a seatbelt is for the lap belt to fit low and tight across the hips and pelvis, not on the stomach area that contains soft tissue. The shoulder belt should come over the collarbone, away from the neck, and cross over the breastbone, fitting snugly across the chest. The shoulder belt should never be behind the back or under the arm. In the event of a crash, this can cause serious injury or death. In newer cars, the shoulder belt can be adjusted on the side pillar to improve the fit.
All right, so this last year, 2022, was this area's most deadly time for traffic collisions. We had, I think it was in the 50s of fatal traffic collision in our San Gorgonio Pass area. Most of those, I would say like 70%, are not people not being properly restrained. Just on Christmas Day, we had a crash that was, I believe that a big rig had lane changed a car. They swerved out of the way. All 5 occupants were not restrained. 4 of them were ejected from the vehicle, and the driver was killed. But there was also like a 1-year-old that was ejected, a 15-year-old that was ejected. It was pretty bad. So make sure you guys are wearing your seatbelts. It's either not wearing it or wearing it improperly. We've had multiple crashes where seatbelts have been just buckled behind them because they don't want to hear the beeping, and fatal traffic collision. All right, what do you know about DMV licensing for older drivers? How can they help you to drive safer and longer? Remember that driving is a privilege, it's not a right. Since driving safely is judged by ability, there isn't any age where we're going to be like, hey, you're not allowed to drive anymore. It's all based on whether or not you're allowed or you can still drive safely. After 70 years old, so just know this was all done before COVID. Some stuff may have changed. So all this was done before that, so it got a little weird for a while. After 70 years old, renewal requirements. The written test can be done in person or online. However, you must take the vision test in person at the DMV. There is no drive test required after initial license at age 16 unless there's a specific reason for a reexamination. If there are issues identified during testing, the DMV can do a few different things. They can give you a limited term license, like so if somebody has Parkinson's, for instance, instead of renewing it for 5 years, they could renew it for like 2 years and then have you come back. They could also do a restricted license for like daytime driving only or no freeways or something like that. So the DMV provides a wealth of additional information for older drivers, both online and in their offices. So they offer handbooks, applications, documents that you may need to complete. They even offer practice tests. So if you wanted to practice doing a written test first, you can do that through the DMV website. There's also a thing called a senior ombudsman program where they can help you to get through all of these DMV licensing and registration stuff. You just have to contact the ombudsman program in your area. If you are preparing for a written test, sample questions are available online. Now we had somebody, she just took a test and just passed her written test, what, today? Yeah, she just passed it. So the current version of the test, at least prior to COVID, was 25 questions. You had to get 80%, so you were allowed to miss 5. Once you pay your licensing fee, you're allowed to take the test up to 3 times. And then you can take it on the computer or on paper if you request it. The test is done in both English and Spanish, and you can ask for a paper copy, like I said, if you're uncomfortable using computers. So here's a sample question that you could find online or in the handbook. When driving in fog, you should use your A, fog lights, B, high beams, or C, low beams. Low beams. Now, if there was an option for using your low beams and fog lights, that would be more appropriate. Yeah, a lot of cars have fog lights. So, and sometimes they're automatic and sometimes they're not. So, pay attention to your car, learn all the features and functions of your car, and that way you'll know. Just don't use your high beams because it just reflects right back at you. The Senior Ombudsman Program can help you navigate DMV processes regarding hearings and reexamination processes or your license restrictions. They're available statewide, and you can go to the DMV website to find the Senior Ombudsman phone number that you can contact. For us, the one that we have is located it's for Orange County, San Bernardino County, San Diego County, and here in the Inland Empire. So that's the one that we would use. There's only 4 different ombudsman programs located in California, so that's our local one. All right, a referral for reexamination can be requested by family, physicians, or law enforcement. If you have like major driver safety concerns, it's possible that maybe your son, daughter might report you to the DMV, and then you'll have to go and get a reexamination. That can happen both with family. That can happen by a physician. If your physician knows that you shouldn't be driving, they can also report it to the DMV. Also, if one of us pulls you over, Banning, CHP, Beaumont, if any of us pull you over, and we notice that something's not right, we can do a couple different reexaminations. So normal reexamination, where you just go and you set an appointment, or a priority one where you're pretty much done right there. So that's a possibility, and that does happen. A reexamination process includes DMV reviewing it. There's a big form that's filled out, and then there may be a written test that you would have to do, a supplemental driving test, or a medical evaluation. San Bernardino is like the local medical evaluation DMV, so you might have to go there. Let's see, possible results of the reexamination include no change, possibly. If everything checks out and you're good, you might not have any change. You might have a driving restriction or a suspension or revocation if necessary. Making decisions about your driving safety should include periodic self-assessments of your knowledge, skills, and abilities. So let's take a moment and discuss some available self-assessment tools and resources. Number one, look at your overall driving behaviors. Have you noticed any near-miss crashes, unexplained dents or scratches on your car? Getting lost even in familiar locations? Trouble moving your foot between pedals? We've had numerous crashes where people accidentally push the gas instead of the brake. Also difficulty turning to look while backing up or changing lanes. I think the statistic was in those crashes where somebody accidentally pressed the gas instead of the brake, it was mostly women and 78 or older. And I don't know why, but that's just what the trend was. All right, does this happen to you? Drivers honk or gesture at you, family or friends expressing concern, or you're frequently stopped by law enforcement. Ding, 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 that's a clue. All right, so if this is happening to you, you may want to consider transitioning from driving. Many older drivers stop driving on their own long before there's a crash or any other interventions. At some point, all drivers must decide if they wanted to continue to drive or consider driving retirement. On average, after deciding to stop driving, adults are dependent on alternative transportation for 7 to 10 years. Right now, there's tons of different alternative transportations, Uber, Lyft, there's like Dial-A-Ride and the bus system that's here. There's taxis. There's all sorts of ways that you can get around. So it's important, try to use some of those things in case you ever needed to, just so you're familiar with how they work. So it's important to plan ahead, prepare for your driving retirement by assessing your driving abilities and modifying accordingly. It's a lot better if you make it your decision than somebody else deciding for you. There are many transportation options available. I just talked about public transportation, rideshare, taxi services, volunteer services, and faith-based services, family and friends. Or Highway Patrol might end up giving you a ride. So consider using some of these resources to improve your safety. Self-rating tools from insurance companies. You've seen like different ones. They have Geico has one. State Farm has them. There's all these different driving tools that you can get where either they use your cell phone or they use a device that's connected in your car to your cell phone, and it will monitor your driving if you're starting too quickly, if you're stopping too hard, if you're taking your turns too quickly. It monitors all of that stuff. There's also safety courses to update and improve your knowledge and skills. Also, being here today. Ta-da! All right. Driving school and driving instructors. Some driving schools have specific instructors that'll sit with senior drivers and kind of just walk through and see if they notice anything that's like any kind of glaring problems to try to get them fixed. There's also a thing called driving rehab specialists to help recover driving skills lost from injuries or illnesses. The next couple slides identify some of these specific resources. So AAA offers a tool called Driver 65 Plus. This is a 15-question self-rating tool that just helps you to determine if you're still driving safely. So follow the instructions, you'll calculate a score at the end and see how you do. There's driver refresher courses available both in person and online from many different sources. AARP provides both in-person and online courses for their driver safety program. And AAA also provides a RoadWise driver program. Many, I just spoke about this, driving schools. So you can spend like an hour and with a driving instructor, and they could be able to help you fix something that could be an issue down the road. When a medical condition, such as a stroke, impacts your driving, or if a driver has been referred to for a re-examination, they may be referred to by their physician to seek services of a special occupational therapist known as a driving rehabilitation specialist, so a DRS. They're trained in driving assessment and evaluations, and DRS can help you to get different things to help you improve your strength, your mobility, maybe prescribe some adaptive equipment for your vehicle so that it'll make it a little bit easier for you to drive. All right, and another thing is that we have resources. So I'm going to give you a sheet of paper when you leave, or whoever's at the back table can give you a sheet of paper when you leave. It's got all of these different resources on it. So just get a copy of that. You'll be able to do well with that. Let's see. All right, before we wrap up this training session, here are some final thoughts. Don't stop here. Take steps to learn more and drive safer. Think about driving environmental changes. Be aware of the changing traffic patterns around you. Consider vehicle improvements, so make sure you're familiar with your vehicle. Ask for input on driving by somebody who's going to be honest with you. Don't ask your best friend who is just going to blow smoke up your butt. That's not what you want. You want somebody to be honest and tell you what you need to fix. Always think about being a safer driver. Expect the unexpected and look out for the other guy. Be proactive about your safety and the safety of others. And I'll leave you with one final picture. So if this person can wear, if this guy can wear a seatbelt, then so can you. There you go. All right, always wear your seatbelt. Thank you very much, guys. Do we have questions?
Before we start the questions, I just want to let you know, everybody that came in today, I will have your certificates on the 14th of January, which is a Saturday, and it is the Activities Day. It is Activities Day, and I will have a table in the back, and so, or in the front, whichever one you want to look at. And so I will have your certificates then, so you will need to pick them up from me. If you do not pick them up, I will call you, and you can come to my home and pick them up. So it'll be easier for you to come here and be able to pick them up. So, do we have any questions? It's the 14th. The 14th. It's a Saturday. It's from, from 9 to 1. I'll be there from 9 to 1 on the 14th.
Any other questions? Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. My bad.
I was surprised in the beginning about that tailgating was not one of the 5 reasons for, accidents. I had thought it would be very much higher. Do you have any idea where it is now?
Following too closely, I think. So that's one of those that also, so I have to have something specific in order to put that on a report to say that they were following too closely. I either have to have a witness saying that they were following way too closely, or their admission. Usually when we find out about a crash, we'll ask them how fast you were driving, what lane were you in, how far were you behind the vehicle in front of you. If somebody says they were 2 car lengths behind the vehicle in front of them, they're going 70 miles per hour, you're following too closely. So if that's how the collision occurred, a rear-end collision, then a lot of times, then that's how it'll get put into the report. But if it doesn't get noted that way, it might just be that we would put like unsafe speed. So that's kind of one of those that you kind of have to prove it in order to make it following too closely.
Yes, I just got a question about driving on the freeway, overtaking cars with a motorcycle. I spent many years driving motorcycles, pardon me, and I've never seen a law or read anything about going between cars, overtaking on the freeway. And there is a safe way to do it, in my opinion, when the cars are side by side, not when there's one in front of the other. Do you think that's a good idea?
So as far as the law is concerned, in California, you are allowed to lane split. There is no specific speeds in the law that is written in there that says, okay, at this speed, you're allowed to lane split. But the general recommendation that the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration gives is no more than 15 miles per hour over the speed of the traffic that you're passing. So that's the recommendation. I don't know why that California even allows it, but they do.
I'm in Walmart's parking lot. I'm backing out. I've started exiting my parking stall. You come in behind me because you're in a hurry to get out of the parking lot. We have a collision. It's my understanding it's my fault. Is that true?
Actually, that's going to get sorted out by the insurance company.
Okay.
So on private property, we don't take reports.
Okay. I will tell you, be cautious because there's a lot of that happens.
Yes, I totally agree. That's bad news. That's why you got to pay very close attention when you're backing up. It's very dangerous. Yeah, so insurance companies, all your information just gets gathered, you exchange information, and then the insurance company decides all that. Unless it's involving a fatal traffic collision or a hit and run, we're not going to be investigating that. Or if somebody's injured. Yes.
With the child safety seat usage for a lot of us, because a lot of us are grandparents, the law changes quite often. Can you tell me what the rules are now?
Okay,
Guidelines?
so yeah, I'm actually a National Highway Traffic Safety Administrative certified child safety seat technician. So the law currently is 8 years old or 4'9", whichever one comes first. So for rear facing, they want you to be rear facing. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration recommends 2 years. I'm sorry. Yes, they recommend 2 years. California law, it only requires 1 year. But no. So it's even the safer way to keep them as rear facing as long as possible because their necks are not very strong. And if you're forward facing, you're much more likely to have a head and neck injury for a child. But if you're rear facing, the worst that could probably happen is that you get little lower extremity injury, but that's a lot better than your head. So, yeah, 2 years for rear facing, and then you can turn them around, and then up to at 4'9", they can come out of a car seat, or 8 years old.
Two things. One is a comment. The new cars, the turn signals, if you use them, alert you for your blind spots now. If you don't use your turn signals, you'll not know there's somebody in your blind spot. Yep. My question is I use Waze a lot to help plan a trip, the exit you're talking about, future alternative routes. Is there a better program, or is that the best right now?
I would say that is the best. That's the one I use. Waze is fantastic. If you're trying to get somewhere without the least amount of issues, Waze is the best. It'll help you to avoid a lot of traffic. I'm not here to promote Waze, but Waze is fantastic. W-A-Z-E, Waze. So it's really, really good for GPS navigation. And like you were saying about the blind spots, that varies depending on the car, whether or not it'll actually alert you. Some cars, you just drive up next to it, that little blind spot indicator pops on, and it'll notify you. Also, if you start to depart your lanes on a lot of these newer vehicles, even if you don't use your turn signal, it's like, hey, use your turn signal, dummy. And it kind of like, it steers for you. It has corrective steering on a lot of these new cars. You can turn them off. But just know that could mess with you. If you don't know your car does that, it could screw with you pretty good.
Okay, back to child car seats again.
Yes.
There used to be a time where you could go to the CHP and they would check your car seat to make sure it's safe and you have it put in correctly. Do you still have that?
I'm still that guy. Yeah.
Is there a special
So-
time for that?
Just call my office. I'll set up an appointment, and grandparents, parents, it doesn't matter, even if we're expecting parents, we can get it set up and make sure that it's good enough, the best way that we can get it set up, even if the kid is not there. And then I'll explain everything on how to set it up when you do get the child in there. I would say it's better to have the child with you. That way we can get everything properly set up, and we'll go from there.
6 or 7 years ago, I changed insurance to AAA, and they asked me a couple of questions when we got to the point of what's it going to cost. They said, let us know about your alumni association. That's a 0.5% savings, and you can take a safe driving course, and it was $25 or $35, whatever it was, nationally, and I learned a lot on that. It really it made me a better driver by taking this test because of the awareness of things like the grip on the wheel and change the mirror a little bit further out. And it was awkward at first to get used to that, but it was really helpful, and it saved money. And I'm not a AAA insurance agent.
So yeah, I'm going to give you you're going to get a certificate on that Saturday, the 14th, and take that certificate to your insurance company. They may give you a discount. Not every insurance company does it, but most of them do. So take that with you and make sure your name is spelled properly, and then give it to your insurance company. Yes, sir.
Just a comment. A lot of things we saw was to heighten the driver's awareness. And one thing I think is really important to include in your awareness when driving is to leave yourself an out. Just be aware of your surroundings. Try to have an escape route from any.
Put the microphone to your up further. They can't hear you.
Okay. Basically, I'm trying to say leave yourself an out when you're driving. Just look around. Try to leave your space. People cut in front of you, back off. Just always try to give yourself an out for any situation.
Absolutely. If you're driving down the freeway or even here on Highland Springs or something, yeah, try not to be just pulled right up behind the car in front of you. Give yourself an out. If you're driving down the freeway, make sure you don't have a big rig on one side and another large vehicle on the other side, and you have nowhere to go in case something were to happen. You know, you never know. Somebody in front of you will move out of the way, and maybe somebody dropped a fridge or something. It happens. So, you got to make sure that you have an opportunity to get out of the way.
Question. I was with a friend, and we were going back. Really loud. We were going back onto the highway. We were on the off ramp, so we're going back on the highway, and the sun hits her in the eye, and she stops. Unfortunately, the cars in front of her all stopped. Well, she's filling out this SR1 or something, and it said that automatically you should be a car length behind. It's 4 o'clock traffic on Route 10. There's no way anybody's doing that. I mean, we would be on Route 10 forever. So what is the actual process of something that we can't do here in California?
Well, if you're following too closely and you get into a collision, then, like I said, that could be the primary collision factor on your crash, following too closely. You got to do the best with what you have. You know, slow down, just give yourself a gap in front of you. Yes, people are going to want to jump into those gaps, but do the best you can do. Don't worry about the people that are behind you. You do the best with what you can do to give yourself an opportunity to slow down. If people come in front of you, slow down a little bit more, give yourself more of a gap.
Okay, we are not going to take any more questions right now. I have 3 police officers in the back that are going to come up and give a short update on what's happening for banning. And if you have any questions after they've given their presentation, we can ask Officer Montez more questions. Who's going to be your spokesperson, or all three of you going to talk? That's fine. I'm going to let you introduce yourself because I can't remember your
Hello,
last name.
my name is Sergeant Howdigi with the Banning Police Department. I supervise the Homeless Liaison Program along with the School Resource Officer Program. This year is Officer Hickson. He is our new Homeless Liaison Officer, and we also have Janet, our clinical therapist with CBAT. I'll let Officer Hickson talk about what he's doing, what we're dealing with the homelessness issue in the city of Banning, and I'll have him update you with some numbers, statistics as far as what we're doing to combat the problem.
Hello. So I'm Officer Hickson. I've recently been assigned as, there we go. Recently been assigned as the Homeless Liaison Officer for Banning. There we go. I just got the assignment a couple weeks ago, so it's still new to me, and I'm kind of learning the program. I know last month, the officer we had worked a lot with Caltrans to get a lot of the homeless cleaned up off of the railroad tracks and off of the freeway there. We're working a lot with our county resources. Janet here for some resources for housing, the homeless that want housing, or some of the homeless that have mental issues. She also provides resources for them that way to help get them housing, medication, or whatever they need. Last month, I looked at the stats before we came over here. We had hundreds of contacts with homeless that resulted in over 100 arrests. We will take homeless out of the city if they have family in other cities or they request somewhere else where there's more resources than what we have here in Banning. We do drive them out of the city and take them where they need to be. Outside of that, my job is contact them, see what they need, how can we help them, or enforce the laws and the regulations that we have in the city. So that's about it for now. This week on my agenda that I have myself, there's the vacant house over on Joshua Palmer next to Denny's is an issue, and I've contacted the homeowner there. This week we're going to meet, have that boarded up, have it trespassed, and have those homeless moved out. We're also this week between 22nd and Sunset on the railroad tracks. I'll be working with Caltrans to get that cleaned up, see if we can get those homeless housed or moved out, or enforce the laws that we can enforce there. I think that's it. It changes every day. There's new needs. There's new problems every day. So it's just me and Janet. Janet's with me once a week. Outside of that, I'm by myself for now in this position. So it's a lot of work for one person, and I'm doing the best I can. So.
Thank you. Janet, do you want to say something?
Hi, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jana De La Cruz. I'm a licensed clinical social worker with the Department of Mental Health of Riverside. What we do is we do a lot of outreach. We try to reduce the stigma of mental health, provide that seed for a lot of individuals, and sometimes it requires not just 1, 2, or 3 engagements and efforts to offer those resources to our community members. Part of my job is working with Banning Police Department, Beaumont Police Department, and Cabazon Sheriffs. We do risk assessment. When we have to, we will hospitalize. It's an application. But a lot of the times, we try to divert and offer resources and education to what the resources are available within our community. As a social worker, I always love to plant that seed and educate and empower the community as well to just take action as well. So, yeah.
Does anybody have any questions?
Exiting the Highway 10 on Highland Springs, did I see a sign that says that off-ramp is going to be closed between December the 14th through March 31st? If that is true, can you help explain what that's going to, why? The off-ramp going west to Highland Springs off the 10, there's a sign up there that says it's going to be closed between December the 14th through March 31st.
I think it's just intermittent. They'll be closed intermittently. They're still finishing up this I-10 project, So there will be intermittent closures. It's not going to be completely closed. Just so you guys know, this whole I-10 project with all this construction, it should be wrapping up at the end. It should be pretty much done at, I guess, mid-January. And there will not be any more K-rail or anything like that up. So it'll look like a normal freeway. There will be some construction work done at night, but that will be, it'll look normal and it won't be so much of a hazard.
That's not the idea about combining those two, that off-ramp with the road right next to it. There was thoughts at one time of combining those two into one to take the double intersection out of that area. That's not.
Are you talking about like?
The off-ramp. There's a road right for the free.
So there's been talks that they're going to be, so there is renovation that's in the progress right now. Nothing is set in stone. So right now, Beaumont, City of Beaumont, City of Banning, Caltrans, and Department of, RTCT is all working together on a fix for Highland Springs. So it's going to be a while, but we have numerous agencies trying to work together and get this set up. Just so you know, a few of the other little things that are going to be happening, Pennsylvania Avenue, they're going to be changing Pennsylvania Avenue from 1 lane each direction to 2 lanes each direction. And there's going to be an undercrossing underneath the railroad tracks. So we won't have to worry about the train getting stuck anymore. That's supposed to start this next year. So probably about 12 months it'll start, and then it's going to take about 12 months to complete. So that's a good fix for right now.
Do we have any more questions for Banning PD right now? No. You have no questions for our police department? You're doing a great job, Ben. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time here. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Let me go over a few of the other construction things that are going to be happening here in the near future. Cherry Valley, the on and off ramps at Cherry Valley, as well as that overcrossing, is going to see a complete restructure of that whole area. So there's going to be on and off ramps that'll be redone. The whole overcrossing will be redone, the lights, everything. So that's going to be a big fix. We've already worked with Banning, Beaumont, Caltrans, and we've synced up the lights a little bit better here on Highland Springs. So that was about a month or so ago that we worked on that. There's just too many people in this area, and we're trying to get it worked on. The Highland Springs project is the last thing that's actually going to happen. Another thing is Singleton in Calamasa. They're going to be building this giant new shopping center over there. It's going to be big, really big shopping center. They were originally supposed to have a Costco in there. I don't know if that's happening now. Target is supposed to go in there, and that development is actually paying to put on and off ramps both directions at Singleton. So that's going to be redone as well. The I-10 paving project that right now is going from Pennsylvania Avenue out to like Whitewater area, that is almost about to be wrapped up, like I said. And then after that, they're going to be doing between County Line Road and Brookside, and then Brookside to Pennsylvania. And they're going to be redoing those sections as well. The whole reason that we're even having this construction right here is just for the slow lanes, the number 3 and 4 lanes, because they were so torn up by all the truck traffic. So the whole thing here is just to repave those 3 and 4 lanes, and this is how long it's taken. Absolutely crazy, but it is what it is. All right, questions?
Marcy, hang on just a minute, please.
I had seen in the planning for the city of Banning that there was listed in there was an off-ramp for Highland Home, together with an underpass under the railroad tracks, and Highland Home being extended all the way to Ramsey, and then obviously, I guess another alternate route for trucks to be able to take to get to the new construction that's in the plans as well. for those 5 warehouses?
So as far as I know, I have not heard anything about that from Caltrans regarding any off-ramps at Highland Home. I have not heard anything. Not to say it's not happening, I just haven't, I don't know, have any knowledge about that. And anything that's happening in the city of Banning, unfortunately, I don't know about.
Okay, because it is on the Banning website. You have to dig for it. You have to really, really dig for it to take a look and find it, but it was there.
Okay, you may have answered my question. To your knowledge, are there any plans afoot to keep the traffic from blocking the intersections?
That's the thing that's coming up in Highland Springs, but that's going to take a long time. So they're having to work with yes, I know. It takes me sometimes 10, 15 minutes to get to the freeway. So I totally feel your pain. At least I have emergency lights and I can kind of, squeeze through a little bit better. But you don't have that. I totally understand.
Officer, I have a question.
Yes.
So on the First Street, coming to Sun Lakes, and Highland Springs, the turn to left on both of them, it is unreasonable. And I don't know if that's what Marcy was talking about, but when you're coming from, let's say, across the way, and you're on Highland Springs, and you're coming here, the lights are not set up the way they should be. And there are no turn lanes going left on either one coming on First Street all the way down to Sun Lakes Boulevard. So it is absolutely, and I want to do something about it, but I don't know who to contact.
So it depends on where it's at. If it's on the Beaumont side, you would have to contact the city of Beaumont. If it's on the Banning side of Highland Springs is the separator between cities. So it's kind of multiple jurisdictions there. So it's kind of weird on how to actually get somebody to respond out there. It's not Caltrans. The only lights that Caltrans have are right there at the freeway. So the on and off ramps on Highland Springs, those are Caltrans lights. Those on both of those intersections. Other than that, it's City of Beaumont and Banning. So you'd have to contact those cities.
I have to contact both of them then.
Probably.
Kind of the same area there. I was always surprised that when they put up at Sun Lakes Boulevard, or First, and Highland Springs, going that one direction, they have up ahead on top the 2 signals, and one of them should have been a left-hand turn arrow. And every once in a while, I think driver gets confused if they just see it and wants to turn. Is there, and that's been ever since they put it up, any plan to make that an actual left-hand turn arrow there?
Not that I'm aware of. But that's going to be local jurisdiction, City of Beaumont, City of Banning, depending on where it's at. So
in the middle of the street.
So you'll have to contact the city to get that taken care of. I know how obnoxious it is to have all these different jurisdictions, but yeah, Highland Springs is very difficult with that. 3 different jurisdictions. You got state, and you got the city, and you got both cities. So
there was a few years back, well, maybe a few decades back, a law that prevented you from going past the limit line and sitting in the middle of an intersection when the light turns green. If you have to stop, is that not a law?
Yeah, so there's that law is still very much in effect. And if you have ever seen me out there on First Street, right in front of my office, I've pulled over a ton of people right there, pull them right there into the Chase Bank, make a ride on Highland Springs or something, because they do that all the time, coming from, the Best Buy parking lot or coming from the Walmart side and are blocking that way. So yes, it's the anti-gridlock law. It's still very much in effect, and we do the best that we can. But just so you got a heads up, the City of Beaumont, I was talking to somebody else about this. The City of Beaumont in 2000 had like 11,000 people. Now they have like 58,000 people. Our office has 7 less officers now than they had in 2000. So if you know anybody who wants to be a CHP officer, you let us know, all right? Go apply online, chpcareers.com. We need all we can get, but it's hard to find qualified people. People that you want to do the job don't really want to do the job. So we do the best with what we have.
Okay, I saw just recently a say no to panhandling sign on an off-ramp. Who's
Sir, like this.
who's enforcing that? Or is that a
So
voluntary thing?
there were signs put up, like let's say on Highland Springs, right there by the freeway. There were signs put up. I don't know who initially put them up, if it was Banning or if it was Beaumont, but or it could have been Caltrans. I don't know. Somebody had put them up, and the homeless people ripped them down. So, but we do enforce. If you're soliciting, which means you're asking for something within 500 feet of a freeway, that's illegal. They can be cited. If you're coming up to people and like accosting them and trying to get them to give me your money, that's illegal. Okay, so we do cite for those things. However, the court system doesn't want to fully enforce those things. So even though we could cite them, I don't know how the current judge is, but the old judge, when we would go into traffic, if they would just say that they were homeless or unhoused or whatever you want to say, she would automatically dismiss it. So, but we have a new judge in there, so I don't know how it's happening now.
Well, that is definitely a problem. I have seen some near misses for people on the ramps. Cars almost rear-ending other cars because of people asking for money or whatever.
So especially when you're northbound on Highland Springs, people in the center divider there right before the freeway, that's like a really, really, really bad spot. We try to kick them out of there all the time, and we try to get them to move, and we cite them, but they keep coming back, It is what it is.
Any more questions for Officer Montez? One moment.
Only thing I was going to say is that I've gotten to know Officer Montez, and I think he's absolutely wonderful, and thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you, Officer.
Thank you, Anita. Appreciate it. She was not paid to be here, okay?
Yes, she was. Okay, now we have our Securitas, Mike Romero and Lieutenant Roman.
Good afternoon, folks. Thank you for having us here. I appreciate your time. Thank you, sir. I appreciate your time as well. Just a brief report that I'm going to give for all the residents here. Happy New Year, by the way. I hope everybody's going to start off a wonderful year. We're looking forward to having a wonderful new year here at Sound Lakes Country Club and still provide the best security that we can here for all the residents in the community. First and foremost, I just want to let residents know we need to observe a little bit more of our traffic regulations here in the community. I've been getting a lot of notifications regarding speeders inside the community. Let your guests know that do come through our gates to please observe all speeding limits within Sound Lakes Country Club. It is becoming a concern. It's more for your safety and your guests as well. We want to make sure that everybody gets to their location safely, especially when we have severe weather inside the community or if it's late at night. Sometimes it's hard to see people out there on the roads, and we want to make sure that nobody gets into an accident. So please talk to your guests, and residents should be aware about that as well, okay? We're going to continue to do our perimeter checks as we have been doing. We're checking the northern part of the community very frequently. We have seen some changes up there by the railroad tracks. I know Banning PD went out there recently and cleaned up a lot of that area, but we do have reports from homeless that do come in from time to time. So if you do see something, you can call security, and we'll be more than happy to go out there and check it out. If it's in the middle of the night and you have reason to believe that there's somebody, suspicious activity out there or trying to break into a home, call Banning PD first. These guys are ready and prepared to come out here and help us out. We've been working alongside with them, and we have really great relationships with them as well. So you see something, say something, report it, and then you can follow up with a call to security. We'll go out there and help them as well to see if we can locate these individuals and prevent them from coming back and inconvenience them as well, okay? Parking enforcement is going to be continuing on through the year. We are making sure that everybody is aware of where they need to be parked at. Handicap spaces are designed just for handicap placards. If you have a handicap placard displayed on, or your license plate has a handicap placard, you can park there. If you don't, you're going to be getting a ticket from us. So Make sure that we're parking in designated areas where you need to be at. Garage door checks. We're going to continue doing our garage door checks as we have been. We have been receiving calls regarding vandalism, though, and theft occurrences from residents that have left their garage doors open. We recently had a theft occurrence. A vehicle was stolen. The resident did confirm that she did leave her keys in the car, and her garage was open. Prevent it. Just close your garage doors. We'll call you between the hours of 8 p.m. and midnight, though. That's as best as we can do because my guys are out there looking and checking the community as well. But protect your assets, folks. All it takes is a simple click of the garage, and that'll prevent a theft occurrence from happening. So get to know your neighbors. Talk to your neighbors. If you see your neighbor has their garage door open across the street or right next to you, phone call or knock on their door. Let them know, hey, you might want to close your garage door. Call us as well. We'll go out there and see if we can communicate with them and let them know what the concerns are. We just want to make sure that we don't have these things happening in our community, right? So let's try to keep it as safe as possible and making sure that we prevent these theft occurrences from happening. Guests are always encouraged to just use the guest lane, not the resident lane. We have more traffic tie-ups with guests using the resident lanes, and I want to make sure that you folks, which are paying to have priority to use the resident lane, access the community as soon as possible. We'll expedite the process by making sure that everybody follows through, and that way we can make sure that your guests get to where they need to get to in a timely manner. I think that's pretty much it. Lieutenant Roman, do you have anything to add on to the report?
No, not too much. Kind of already hit on the vehicles. There's a lot of homeless people, and they're looking for easy targets. So don't make yourself a target.
Thank you for your time, folks. Appreciate it.
Does anybody have any questions for, you're not going to get out there that easy. Hang on just a minute, everybody. Hang on just 1 second.
What's the status of the working cameras in the RV lot?
We are currently working with a new team that's called VIP security cameras. We are looking into upgrading that system in its entirety. So we're going to have more high-tech cameras that are going to be more active with my department. We're going to have better live feeds coming in through our station, which means that we're going to have better response time. The cameras are also going to be designed with better sensors, which are going to activate a trigger which with an alarm and flashing lights, which hopefully will prevent these guys. Psychologically speaking, what they're looking for is to see how much time they can get to get into the RV lot and how much time it takes for us to respond. My key goal here is to have the best response time and get there as soon as possible.
Can you tell me how many cameras and, let's see, a targeted date that they're looking at on
I
starting?
don't have a target date, but I know for a fact that we're looking at exactly 12 new cameras in the RV lot. So we're going to have the back perimeter, both sides, and then the front. The RV lot recently had a change done to the front gates. I don't know if you've noticed, there's like a mesh that's been installed to the gates, which prevents people from just sticking their hands in and cutting that chain. It's a little, we're slowly but surely, but we're going to get it done.
I keep hearing comments about speeding, but my thoughts is Sun Lakes does a great job of hiding what the speed limits are on our streets. I might see a little tiny sign that says 25 miles per hour once between the front gate to gate number 3. I don't see any signs of what the speed limit is on the condos, and I think we need to do a better job of letting people know what the speed limits are. And we used to have a radar trader. I know because how I picked up the speed on my cart.
I agree.
I think we need to put better signs out as far as what the speed limits are, because there's 3 different ones, as you know, Lieutenant. There are 3 different ones.
Yeah, so to my knowledge, 20 miles per hour is the best that we recommend traveling inside communities, and inside the condo areas
It's
should
10.
be 15 or 10.
Oh, 10, yeah.
10 miles
But if
per
I'm
hour.
a visitor, if I don't catch that little sign right there as I come by, I don't see it again probably until I get out the gate number 3.
Correct. So what we're doing at the gates, folks, each single pass that we give to each guest has a little memo on that pass to make sure to please observe all the speed limits inside the community, do not exceed that, and I'm also letting residents know, hey, your guest has been reported exceeding the speed limit inside the community. We don't want that to happen inside here anymore. So if it takes me making those phone calls, then that's exactly what I plan on doing.
Don't forget, you can also contact your master board and let them know that you want more speed signs or you want them more visible.
Any other questions?
There's some back here. Hang on. Go ahead.
Could I have your business card, please?
Please talk into the mic.
Could I have your business card, please?
Absolutely. My information is going to be on my business card. You guys are more than welcome to come to my station. I'm accessible 24 hours a day here for the community. Even if I'm not here, Lieutenant Roman is also here. My team can get in touch with me a phone call away. And even if it's 3 in the morning and if there's something happening, I'm always notified. This is what I'm here to do, is to be here for the community and its needs. You can also email me. It's got my business card. I'll go ahead and get some cards and we'll leave them in the back here for you folks. But if not, you can always come to the station and get my information there as well. I check my emails periodically. I'm here for the needs of the community and for you guys. So please, without hesitation, come up, get to know my staff, get to know me. We're here for you folks, okay?
Okay, we appreciate you here and the job that you guys do.
Thank you.
I was going to suggest, instead of putting signs up everywhere, perhaps stenciled in the streets would be better. They're more visible, especially to new people. I know it helps me on the freeways when I see them clearly stenciled. I think that's a smart way to go.
And I will definitely bring that up with the board next time we have a meeting.
Securitas can't make that decision. Our master board does that. And we have 2 of them here right now. So if you want to catch them afterwards. Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Romero? No? Oh, yes, just a moment.
I just wanted to remind people to get your pets chipped. That would save officers too.
Absolutely. We love our pets. I brought this comment a long time ago in my last meeting. My heart goes out to all of our pets here in Sun Lakes. We love our dogs. We love our cats. But keep in mind that we live in an area where we have a lot of wildlife out here. The last thing we need is to have our beloved pets attacked by a coyote, sprayed by a skunk, or get lost and never found again. Lieutenant Roman and I have taken the efforts where if we do have a dog that's out loose, we will try to retrieve the dog as best as we can. And we'll hold him as long as possible because we want to make sure we get that pet back to his home or her home as safely and as soon as possible. Pets don't know what's going on sometimes, and they also get concerned and worried, and we want to make sure that they're safe. So we're going to continue doing our due diligence for our pets. We're going to work with EPAP Animal Control as well with Mrs. Burgon. She's been very, very generous in helping our department out when it comes to that, and we intend to do the same back for our community, the animals in the community.
Just to add to that, in the community awareness that'll come out for next month, please make sure you have your dogs on leashes. It is not only our CCNR rulings here, it is a California state law. Your dogs must be leashed, and did you know that your cats must be leashed also? You can't just let them around. If they're in your own yard, that's different. But please read the community awareness article, and it's going to have a lot of information in there. It's going to have information about scams, more tips every single month for you. This is just to make you aware. So please read those articles, and you'll find out a lot of information that you probably didn't know. So thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, well, everybody have a great rest of the day. Stay dry, and thank you. Sign the back.